we are back with the Hummel ultracruiser. Some more of the tail got finished. It got polished a little bit. We cut it down with some fancy 3M buffing compound that we had laying around. It was designed for fixing chalked out paint on old 70s muscle cars. So it's like a 600 or an 800 grit right now. It turned out really nice. The surface obviously is not done, but instead of being all partially crappy aluminum and partially new aluminum, it's getting much closer to looking like the same color all the way around, which is nice. This particular video is mostly about that thing dying. Chinese stuff is great until the motor goes out. And the new one, and a piece that the whole world does not make, so I'm not entirely sure how they're doing hydraulic brakes on some of the upper end recumbent trikes or special needs trikes or things like that. I assume they're probably just doing cable because it's easier because this part doesn't exist. But version 1 was this guy. This is aluminum stock turned down to 6 millimeters with the start of boring a hole through the center of it to make a T fitting for the hydraulic brakes. This is version 2. This one will actually go in and get tested. So we've got gaskets between all three. We've got our input from our master and output to our two calipers. The end on this side is solid with obviously the nut and single point threaded M6 by 1.0. And then on the other end, it is drilled through the center all the way out to 3 ports that I drilled in line with these fittings to obviously give flow to each one. I tapped this M5 by 0.8. I'll be getting either a bolt or a plug for that to seal that off, or leave it as a bleed, mounted in the airframe this way, and then be able to bleed air from here. I may not do that just because complexity and leaks, right? So I might just leave it all solid, set it up so that the high point and the throughput hole or the port are all as high as possible, so I can get as much of, if not all of, the air out of the system. But nobody on the planet seems to make a 2 millimeter ID, 5 millimeter OD T fitting. So this is how I'm going to do it my brakes, just so that everyone else knows you need a lathe. Just like Dennis Brooks says, everybody needs a lathe. Next pieces up on the docket are these. These are made out of Chinese titanium, grade 5 or 9, one or the other. This is actually off of a Honda motorcycle. It's an aftermarket replacement nut for the front axle on a Honda, like a CR250F or something like that. This flange is too big, so I'm going to cut the flange down. I'm going to make it quite a bit smaller because I don't actually need the holding tension that this was designed for. So we'll get that, the added lightness made out of this, and I'll have a titanium nut. I have 2 of them done out of the 4 that I need. My original venture for the titanium axles did not turn out so well because of that. So I'm redoing the titanium axles, which, as most people know, when you order stuff from China, it's not exactly what you wanted. I got some of this material, which is actually too thin a wall to do the M16 150 threading that those require. So it's going to be a hollow titanium grade 5 axle shaft, just like the ones that are in the plane, but we'll be doing them slightly differently and hopefully one straighter and better threading. No matter what people say, the Chinese lathe is good, but it's not that good, and the thread actually does need to be effectively straight when you're done. So, actually, I take that back. That was totally the wrong piece. This is the wrong titanium. This is actually some raw stock from something else. But yeah, this is much, much, much too thin to put in a 150 M16 150 thread. So I had to reorder this, get the right stuff again. So, but this was my big breakthrough for the day. My interior has come a ways. It has a stick. It happens to be carbon fiber because added lightness and coolness. I'm still working on getting that bolted in and finalized, position-wise, hardware-wise, and all that good jazz. Got to get some more AN hardware. I'm working on 3D printing either a button or just a cap. This is version 1. I might put some switches and whatnot in for radio, for other things. We'll find out. But that sits in there like that. Then, of course, my brake system here. Hydraulic on a pull caliper, which is really, really cool. But my T-fitting has to connect to this guy to my crossover output for calipers, which this is the caliper setup right now. So I have calipers mounted. This axle is not quite right. This is what that nut will look like in the future. So my brake hub parts turned out really, really well. This used to be 3D printed down in there. Now it's all made out of aluminum with all of the added lightness titanium bolts holding the rotor on there. I need to source, I think these are M6 150s, titanium for these, titanium for these. Fresh pads, because obviously I bought the calipers used. I'm not going to go out and get stupid with that. So then on the other side we have the other nuts and whatnot. So we'll have better threading, a better axle. It will hold the wheel just a little bit more true. This wasn't welded 100% perfectly straight, which is fine. It doesn't really have to be. But the axle itself, with the way that it turned on the old lathe, this side was cut probably about 8 thousandths smaller than the other side. So it's loose in the hole and it rocks back and forth a fair amount. So that will get tweaked and adjusted and redone. I'm debating on running my brake line inside of there just because it would be neater. I don't think I'm going to, but it would be neater that way. I might just build a little bracket or a P-clip or something and mount it vertically on the strut so that it's ease of access for later. There's some more of that control stick. I did have to take the seat bottom out of this, which I don't think is actually in the plans. I might leave it out. I might put it back in. It was very, very comfortable, like more so comfortable than I expected. So I'll probably put it back in. With the way that it sat in there, it covered up all of where the control rod was going to come through. It covered up all of the holes and stuff in the front of the main spar there. So I might put that back in. Eventually, I'd love to put a cover over top of this too. So from here to here, cover over that, and then do like a tray or something from that sub bulkhead to the forward bulkhead. Whatever that is, B. I think that's B. Covering that up would be a treat. It would be all just clean and good looking, but it does not have to be there. We'll find out when the weights and all that gets done. My fuel tank is done. I'll get that popped back in there. I'll get my rudder pedals and whatnot made, manufactured, whatever. I have to redo my nose cowling because this is kind of unacceptable and it's not going to work with my ram air idea anyways. But yeah, that's where we're at. Thank you guys for watching, and I do appreciate the couple new subscribers that we've had. That's really, really cool. I didn't think anybody would care that much about my tinfoil coffin here. I did get the new prop from Ultra Prop. This is a 4-blade 50-inch So I've got roughly 6.5 inches of clearance on the ground. When it's tipped up at a positive 2-degree angles, if I was going to fly it into the ground on landing. It is a little bit heavy, but with the lightweight engine, I actually need that. I need just a little bit more weight in the front, I think, with how it's all working out. I popped in a couple of cylinder head temp probes. I have to reroute these and move these Deutsch connectors just a little bit, so I have a slightly longer wire. That's in process. I haven't worried about this a whole lot. As it runs, it's rebuilt, it's fine. I'll worry about some of that here in a little bit. I am in the process of redoing the dash assembly because I changed the way that this sits. The previous owner had this squared off so it looked like an AT6 up on this bulkhead. It was very square. I popped that out and put it back to the stock bulkhead design so that the instrument panel cover fits from factory. That actually fit with nothing changed. I didn't move a single rivet to put that on, so it's pretty close to plan, at least plans. I don't know how much of this was bought and how much of it was manufactured yet, but it turned out really well. My seat back eventually will be carbon fiber because added lightness and coolness. I don't think it's actually lighter, but I think it's cooler, so it will be cooler that way. Then, yeah, I'll probably redo the throttle lever assembly. That's quite heavy and it's quite cumbersome and it's a little too big. And I also kind of want to put a pod over there with some switches and whatnot for the FE's system. So, actually, I think I just said, oh, whatever. It's like VIN number. Whenever somebody says VIN number, I question their sanity, and I just questioned mine right there. Anyways, that's where we're at. Thanks again. Y'all have a good evening.